Stephen Moffat is back in the writer's chair for this, the third episode in the Ncuti Gatwa tenure of Doctor Who. But does that mean it's any good or not? Let's find out. The episode's titled Boom. Well, welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my review for Boom, episode 3 of the latest season of Doctor Who under the BBC and Disney. This series has got a lot of criticism. It's got a lot of hate, and is it rightly deserved? Well, is this episode any good, or does this follow the same kind of path as previous episodes? Now, Stephen Moffat, as a Doctor Who showrunner, take him or leave him. He was a good writer, though. That cannot be denied. But does that come across here? Let's talk about it. So this episode opens and we're introduced to a war-torn planet and these two soldiers crossing a battlefield. One of them he's got his eyes covered because he's suffered an injury. And whilst making their way across the battlefield, one of the soldiers gets killed. And this medical droid, an ambulance, an on-site ambulance, comes to the other soldier, and well, it registers his problems, his issues, his eyesight. It will take 4 weeks to repair his eyesight, which is unacceptable. So he's considered not necessary to save. So he's kind of put to death, shall we say. He's eliminated by the ambulance because the cost of the treatment, etc., and the time scale would take too long. He's got a daughter. We are introduced to this daughter and a few other soldiers. And these aren't any soldiers. These are actually, these are like priests. These are bishops. These are people of faith. They wear dog collars as well as military garb. The Doctor lands on this planet with Ruby. And straight away, steps onto a mine. The Doctor steps onto a mine, and the entire episode is the Doctor sat on this mine in this crater, and proceedings occur around him. Ruby, she has to help the Doctor try and get him off, and she comes across this canister. Which is actually the body of this dead soldier, the one who had the eyesight problems, the one who's got the daughter, and it's a compressed body. It looks like a sort of travel fleshlight almost. Anyway, that aside, the daughter turns up, one of the other soldiers turns up that we're introduced to, and it's about understanding what's going on with the war, this fight with these things called the Caslarians that may or may not be there. But as the episode unravels, we come to find out about the war, about what's really going on. And spoiler alert, it's basically there isn't no one. They're not fighting anyone. There's no real fight. They're fighting against the technology that is there to assist them, because it's all about sales and sales of this the warmongering and this sort of a thing, and the money utilised that companies make in war, that they need this war to go on because they're selling product basically, and these soldiers are again essentially fighting against their own AI that's there to protect them. As the episode goes on, Ruby gets injured. She gets injured. Looks like she's going to die, this sort of a thing, but it all works out for well. Anyway, that's the basic premise, basic story. I won't go into too much detail of what happens, what not happens. There's a few little nods to previous Doctor Who's, fish and chips, fish fingers and custard, this sort of a thing under Stephen Moffat. But is this episode any good? That's the question. Does it have the messaging that the other episodes of Doctor Who have had? And it's nice to say that no, it doesn't. It's actually pretty free of the sort of messaging that they want to give us in this series now, for the most part. There's a bit of intrigue in the story, in that there's some stuff again revolving Ruby and her origins and the snow, things like this, because when it looks like she's close to death, it starts snowing where it's never snowed before, hinting at things to come and the mystery surrounding her and this sort of a stuff. Why can't we just have a normal companion? A companion that is free of mystery, that is just a standard normal individual. Why has there got to be something special about the companion all the time? I don't know. I'd like to see that, just a normal person on the adventures with the Doctor. But anyway, so Steven Moffat, he crafts a good story here. It's interesting, it's intriguing, even though it does feel very much like a bottle episode in a sense, in that it's one location throughout the entire, for the most part of the episode anyway, till it cuts away to the town that these, or the base that these soldiers are in, which is only really one part of the episode anyway, one scene. It's all pretty much self-contained in this one crater, but that's not to take away from it. I feel it's a bit forced in some of the performances. Ncuti Gatwa like forcing out the tears at times and this sort of thing. That's getting a bit tired. Well, that was a bit tiring in this episode. It's like, I'll just push the emotion, have some tears rolling down your face, show what you can do as an actor. There's that kind of element to it. But for the most part, it was an interesting episode. It was well paced. It was well written. The strongest, most definitely the strongest of the Ncuti Gatwa era of episodes thus far. That's including, obviously, the Christmas special and that sort of thing as well. So we ain't had many episodes, but this is certainly the strongest one, which again goes to prove that although not the best showrunner, Steven Moffat is a very good writer. And that's what you come out of this episode. It's decent, yeah. A few little, like I said, a few little teasers of things to come with the Ruby stuff. But yeah, it was enjoyable. And I do think that although there's a lot of hate against Ncuti Gatwa, and I wasn't sold on him myself, and I'm still not sure. I think that he's kind of settling into the role and making it his own to a degree. Yeah, I can't really complain this time around, to be honest. There's not much to complain about. I'm sure some people will find something, though. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on this episode down below in the comments.